bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. The ship was a belly of tea. The name of the ship was a belly of tea. Not been 2 weeks from shore when down on her a right whale bore. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take that whale in tow. Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go. The ship was a belly of tea. The name of the ship was a belly of tea.
I was gonna maybe try MSG react to this, yeah. It's kind of a long video.
The name of the ship was a belly of tea. The ship was a belly of tea.
Just make a video of me reacting to it, and everything is dramatic as shit.
Pokemon, so yeah, there had to be a fair few cuts. In the end, I feel confident that these are the 10 best fairy types, starting with Sylveon. Sylveon is like the quintessential fairy type, right? I mean, it's like the fairy type you think of when you think of fairy type. I really like Sylveon. I think not only is the design good, but more importantly, it's fun to use. Sylveon feels fair in a way that not all Pokemon do. The main reason to use Sylveon has to do with its ability. Pixelate turns all normal type moves into fairy type moves and gives them a damage boost. This allows Sylveon to use powerful moves that other fairy type Pokemon aren't able to access. Most notably moves like Hyper Voice, Quick Attack, and Hyper Beam. Hyper Voice is just a really strong and consistent normal type moves that hits both targets, so turning it to like maybe the best offensive type in the game and giving it a damage boost is a pretty big deal. And if you want more burst, you can always use Hyper Beam, though that doesn't always work out super well. Sylveon hits pretty hard, and it also gets a damage boost from Pixelate, but its defenses are no slouch too. It's got very respectable bulk, and actually on the special side, it's really tanky. And it has a nice speed stat where it works both on Trick Room teams and Tailwind teams because it's kind of Sylveon hits pretty hard, and it also gets a damage boost from Pixelate, but its defenses are no slouch too. It's got very respectable bulk, and actually on the special side, it's really tanky. And it has a nice speed stat where it works both on Trick Room teams and Tailwind teams because it's kind of right in the middle, so it can lean into either direction. Sylveon is also one of the only Pokemon in the game that can use a fairy type priority move because it gets Quick Attack, and Quick Attack when affected by Pixelate becomes a fairy type move. Sylveon doesn't have a very high attack stat, but you can do some really fun things with the Quick Attack, such as attacking your own partner to activate weakness policy. This was used a little bit during Sword and Shield. My favorite use of Quick Attack Sylveon though was on maybe the most evil strategy I've ever used, which is Trick Eject Button. Okay, it probably isn't the most evil strategy, but it's up there. If you are unaware, basically you couldn't force Dynamax Pokemon to switch out, like Roar or Whirlwind or like Red Card. None of that would work. Like there was really no way to get rid of a Pokemon that had Dynamax. You kind of just had to get through the 3 turns. But if you use the move Trick, which is the item of the user and the target, used by a prankster Pokemon, you could give the item eject button to whatever you targeted,
Eject
and
button.
eject button was the only way in the game to get rid of a Dynamax.
That's so funny. Such a funny way to troll them. You just eject your Dynamax.
Pokemon and force it to switch out. And so what we did was we had a priority trick user with the ability Prankster give the item eject button to a Dynamax Pokemon, and then before they could attack, use Quick Attack Sylveon to force them out and basically nullify their Dynamax. It is one of the hardest I've ever laughed pulling it off, and I have very fond memories of that strategy. Sylveon is a very balanced fairy type, but our number 9 slot I would say is not so well balanced, but that doesn't mean that it's not strong. I'm talking about Mawile. Well, specifically I'm talking about Mega Mawile. I think this is one of the coolest Mega evolutions
Mawile.
because Mawile as a Pokemon is just abysmal, like really bad.
Actually,
Like there's
I think Mawile is one of the best in ZA, for sure.
really no reason to ever use it, and by not only giving it the fairy typing but also giving it a mega evolution, they basically revitalized a classic Pokemon that otherwise would never see any play. Mega Mawile is so much stronger than regular Mawile because not only does it get the base stat increase by being a mega evolution, its ability also changes to huge power. Huge power doubles the attack stat of the Pokemon, and doubling a stat in competitive Pokemon is a really big deal. It also helps that Fairy is the best offensive type in the game, and that in my opinion, Fairy and Steel is the single best type combination out of all of the different type combinations. Fairy and Steel is just ridiculous. They complement each other so well, both defensively and offensively. I guess that's kind of what happens when you take the best defensive type in the game and pair it with the best offensive type. But yeah, with Steel shoring up Mawile's resistances and huge power doubling its attack, it's really hard to get rid of, and then it hits super hard, especially because Fairy is a really difficult type to resist. Mega Mawile is pretty slow. That would be its main weakness, and so it was mostly used as a Trick Room attacker, turning that weakness into a strength. If you did get caught outside of Trick Room, you could still use the move Sucker Punch, which is relatively powerful and has an increased stage of priority, allowing Mega Mawile to move before other Pokemon. One thing that's really neat about Mega Mawile is that it's one of the few Mega evolutions that has like some value to keep it in its non-Mega form, because Mawile's ability is Intimidate. Intimidate will lower the attack stats of both opposing Pokemon every time it switches in, and so the advantage of keeping Mawile in its regular form is that you can potentially use Intimidate multiple times per battle. One thing you could do is lead with Mawile, see if it was a good spot to Mega Evolve, and then if it was bad, switch it out, and the next time you brought it in, have Intimidate, and then you can Mega Evolve. Being able to cycle Intimidate and use it multiple times in a battle is very good. This is your Incineroar comment of the video. I know that there's somebody in the comments keeping track of how long it takes for Incineroar to appear in each video, and I think it's funny, so here you go. I'm doing it earlier than I otherwise would. Of course, Mawile is not as good an Intimidate cycler as Incineroar for a number of reasons, in large part because it's just so bad outside of its Mega Evolution. There were a couple funny matches back in the day where people would run 2 Mega Evolutions on a team, and occasionally they would bring both to the battle, and so maybe they would have like, oh, like Kangaskhan for Fake Out and then Mawile with the intention of Mega Evolving, but then they would like end up needing to Mega Evolve Kangaskhan and get stuck with baby Mawile, and it was just so sad. Anyway, Mawile never won the World Championships, but it was one of the best Pokemon in 2014 in the first year of X and Y, and it did win 2 international championships, so I think it definitely deserves.
Yeah, I'm on PC, Tama, on YouTube.
Deserves a spot in this list, as I wouldn't say it was one of the best Mega Evolutions of all time, but
It might come to a surprise, but I'm really good at PC. Like, I can type. My fastest was 50 words per minute when I was like a lot faster at typing.
was a really good one, and it had a niche, especially early on when there were fewer Mega Evolutions available, as one of the only Mega Evolutions that could really stand up to Mega Kangaskhan. Our number 8 slot is a Pokemon that wasn't around during Mega Evolution, Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl is really cool, and I wasn't entirely sure where to put it on this list, but in the end I decided that number 8 was pretty fair because it's won an international championship and it got second at the World Championships as well. Pokemon that were introduced in Sword and Shield are a little bit funky because they didn't have the opportunity to play most of the events where they would have really been shining because of the pandemic canceling all events, but despite that, Grimmsnarl still did very, very well. Grimmsnarl is a dark and fairy type Pokemon that likes to use its
Well, you can watch YouTube on other stuff. I mean, yeah, to be fair, you can watch YouTube on other things. I had 90 words per minute. 90 words per minute, that's wild. They must have kept throwing you little small words.
typing primarily defensively. It has the ability Prankster, and so even though it has a
I think you only need... Oh, I kind of forgot the number. In office jobs, you need a certain amount of words per minute.
Sky high attack stat, it actually ends up filling a role as a supporting Pokemon. It uses moves like Reflect and Light Screen to increase the entire team's survivability, and can also disrupt your opponent with moves that influence the speeds of the battle, like Thunder Wave, or use other disruptive moves like Fake Out, as well as having a couple other nice options as well.
Oh yeah, Grimmsnarl. I was using Grimmsnarl in the other game, Scarlet Violet. I mean, Sword and Shield, and I only had one. Does anyone have a Grimmsnarl to donate for my Scarlet Violet? It doesn't really doesn't have to be shiny. At least it's an authentic Pokemon. Well, even if we don't have one, we can surely find one in the game. Find its location, hunt it down. Maybe even hunt a shiny if we can. Maybe there's a way to hunt a shiny one with a sandwich.
Was really incredible during the final format of Sword and Shield, where we were allowed to use powerful restricted Pokemon, 2 restricted Pokemon on each team. Grimmsnarl was really good because these restricted Pokemon were doubling their HP with Dynamax most of the time, and then you could increase their defenses with Reflect and Light Screen, making them just like basically impossible to KO. But Grimmsnarl was also really annoying to play against because it got this really annoying strategy. We talked about Trick Eject Button earlier, but the thing about Trick Eject Button is that it was considered a bit gimmicky, because if the Pokemon that you want to trick just protects and then Grimmsnarl takes an attack, the eject button will activate, and yeah, you'll get no value. And so what people did instead, they did use Trick, but they used the item Lagging Tail, which causes the user to always move last within its priority bracket. And so what that meant was that if Grimmsnarl didn't get to trick away the item, then Reflect and Light Screen would move last in its priority bracket, meaning like Reflect and Light Screen have higher priority than other moves, so they still go up before most normal attacks. But if your opponent had a threatening restricted Pokemon or a threatening Dynamax Pokemon, you could use Trick and then cause them to always move last for the rest of the battle. And so it was really annoying. Some players also use Trick with the item Iron Ball, which cuts a Pokemon's speed in half. This was valuable because it would immediately take effect, whereas Lagging Tail would only take effect on the following attack. And you could use Iron Ball's other effect, which is that it causes Pokemon that are flying type or floating to touch the ground. And so people would do stuff like Trick Iron Ball Grimmsnarl and Dynamax Groudon, and they would, like against Thundurus, for example, who otherwise would be pretty decent into Groudon, they would trick Thundurus, take away its item, cut its speed in half, cause it to touch the ground, and then hit it with like Max Quake, and then yeah, Thundurus would go bye-bye. I think it's a really cool strategy, and so I wanted to talk about it here. And yeah, Grimmsnarl is like also just recently, at the time I'm recording this, got second at the North American International Championships, which I think makes some sense because restricted Pokemon are now back. So it's a really cool support Pokemon that, thanks to its high base attack stat, can also be somewhat threatening offensively, and there's a Pokemon that I would definitely expect to see doing well in the future.
I don't think he did mention it.
Coming in at number 7 is another prankster user, Whimsicott. Whimsicott is a really cool Pokemon. Just like Sylveon, I think that it was like pretty well designed, where they built in very clear weaknesses to the Pokemon, but still gave it enough tools that it ends up being very powerful. Like I mentioned, Whimsicott is a prankster user, meaning it's able to use non-damaging moves before most other attacks. The main move it uses is Tailwind, which also influences the speed of the battle. Unlike Grimmsnarl though, who mainly picks a target and then makes it feel very sad and very slow, Whimsicott doubles its entire team's speed stats for the following 4 turns. And this is just for using the move once. Tailwind has always been one of the best moves in competitive Pokemon, and Whimsicott has been very consistently one of the top Tailwind setters. Tailwind isn't the only thing that Whimsicott can do though. Because of its prankster ability, it can use a lot of other really disruptive support moves. While Grimmsnarl tends to use mostly defensive supporting moves, Whimsicott tends to use offensive or disruption ones instead. The classic one is Encore, which forces the target to just use whatever move it just used over and over again for the next 3 turns. And this is really threatening because there's a lot of moves in Pokemon that players use that don't do a lot of damage, or like you don't really want to click multiple times in a row. Whimsicott can also use moves that mess with the opponent's stats. The most common ones over time were Fake Tears, which cuts the special defense of whatever it hits in half, basically allowing Whimsicott to pair with a really strong fast special attacker and then just wipe any Pokemon it wants off the board, and Charm, which cuts an opponent's attack in half, basically making a physical attacker extremely sad. Whimsicott does appreciate its typing as well. As a grass type, it's immune to Amoonguss, which lets it do some neat things like mostly ignore Spore and Rage Powder, and as a fairy type, it's able to use the move Moonblast, which is one of the strongest moves in the game. It's slightly stronger than other moves that have no drawback, attack, it never misses, and it also has a really high chance of lowering whatever it hits special attack stat. Whimsicott's Moonblast is great at doing chip damage to frail Pokemon or hitting Pokemon for super effective, or just launching it at special attackers and saying, hey, if your special attack falls, Whimsicott's kind of gotten a bonus here. There's been a lot of really cool Whimsicott sets over the years. One of the ones that was first popularized was using Whimsicott with Mega Gengar. Mega Gengar's Shadow Tag ability prevents any opposing Pokemon on the field from switching out unless they're a Ghost type, and so you could use Encore from Whimsicott and disable from Mega Gengar to force a Pokemon to struggle. You could also use Fake Tears with the set as well. So you could either, like, if they protect from the Fake Tears and Sludge Bomb or Shadow Ball play, just Encore them in and then they're stuck and they can't switch and they can't attack. Or you could just, like, if the Pokemon is threatening, use Encore and Disable at the same time, force them to struggle for the next 3 turns and basically play a 2 versus 1 until they knock themselves out. My favorite Whimsicott set, though, is the one that won the World Championships back in 2017. Whimsicott used Normalium Z with the move Nature Power. Nature Power transforms into different moves depending on what the terrain is and a couple other conditions as well, but it still always used the Normalium Z crystal. Basically, what this allowed Whimsicott to do was use both Thunderbolt Z move or Moonblast Z move, depending on what the terrain was, and the team had the 2 terrain setters that could set up the terrains that would then change the move. It's a really cool Pokemon, and even nowadays when we have Tornadus, which is typically considered to be a better Tailwind setter, Whimsicott has still found its niche and is still doing well. Just as a reminder, if you're enjoying this video, maybe just double check and see if you're subscribed, if it's something that you're interested in. Subscribing is a great way to support the channel, and it's also a great—
Okay, so I just kind of want to brief what we've been through so far. Sylveon, Grimmsnarl. It's just 3 so far. Grimmsnarl and Whimsicott. I might have butchered some of their names, but I don't, whatever. I'll figure it out.
Way to tell YouTube, hey, like, this video is not so bad, maybe I'd like to see another one. I care a lot about trust when it comes to viewership. Like, I don't ever want to feel like people clicking on a video feel like their time is being wasted or that they didn't get a high quality product. And so, of course, if you subscribe and decide that you know, at some point down the line, you don't want to watch the videos anymore, or you think that they're bad or whatever, like, I totally understand. But yeah, in the meantime, if you do want to subscribe, it does help the channel out a lot. Let's talk about the number 6 best fairy type of all time, Tapu Lele. This is the point in the video where things got really difficult for me in my research phase. I actually had to go really deep into the research because, as a disclosure, every Pokemon remaining on this list is incredible. Like, one of the top Pokemon in their generation, one of the top Pokemon of all time, like probably every remaining Pokemon is in the top like 20, maybe top 30, at least top 30 Pokemon ever. And the fact that Tapu Lele is number 6 is not a knock on Tapu Lele, it's merely a statement of how strong the remaining Pokemon are. Tapu Lele is one of the Tapu Pokemon. There are 4 of them, and each of them sets a different terrain when they switch in. Tapu Lele sets up the Psychic terrain, which nowadays is mostly used defensively as a way to stop priority attacks, as any priority move used on a grounded target will fail if Psychic terrain is up. But it also gives all Psychic type moves a damage boost, which is the main way that Tapu Lele used it. It's worth noting that in part because Tapu Lele was so strong, Psychic terrain got a nerf. It used to boost the Pokemon's power by 50% or Psychic type moves by 50%. Now it's closer to 30%, and by closer I think it's exactly 30%. When Tapu Lele was first introduced in Sun and Moon, it very quickly established itself as one of the top threats. It won 6 international events over basically the 3 years that it was legal, and although it never won the World Championships, it did get 2nd place twice. The thing about Tapu Lele is that multipliers in Pokemon are really valuable. We saw this most recently with Miraidon, where even a move that's relatively low in base power can start picking up 1-hit KOs when you start multiplying it by like all these different factors. Tapu Lele could do this as well. Not only did it have a really high base special attack stat, and not only were its moves very high base power for what they were, like Psychic and Moonblast are both really like high consistent damage output, base power moves, but it could also multiply that even further with Psychic terrain and an offensive item like Psyche MZ, Choice Specs, or Life Orb. Psyche MZ Tapu Lele was one of the strongest Z moves that we saw, period. Like, when you started thinking about what's the strongest Z move my Pokemon might have to survive, that was like the upper bar.
I have no idea what he's talking about. Z moves. Maybe it's a different game.
Like, most Pokemon probably can't survive this, so maybe you'll try to survive the Z move through Protect and then a regular Psychic. Psyche MZ wasn't the only way to use Tapu Lele though. I mentioned Life Orb, but the Choice Specs was actually pretty popular as well. Choice Specs Tapu Lele were often trained to be very defensive, actually, basically saying, hey, Tapu Lele's not so frail, but it's not so bulky. If I use the choice specs to make it super strong, then I can focus most of my like stat points into its defenses and HP to make it like survive a lot longer. Choice items are less scary on Tapu Lele than other Pokemon because of the psychic terrain stopping priority moves, most notably Fake Out, which is one of the best tools against Pokemon holding a choice item because they can't protect. Choice Scarf Tapu Lele was used as well, actually, and one of the coolest sets that Choice Scarf Tapu Lele used was Magic Room, which if you don't know what that does, I don't blame you. It's extremely niche. It's a
When is that other game coming out? Green, Fire Red, Green. Talma was in here earlier, right? Yeah.
move that turns off the effect of all items for the next 5 turns. There was a Pokemon that we'll talk about in a little bit that was extremely powerful, but had to
Oh, okay. It sort of reminds me of what they did in Arceus. They have strong moves, strong attacks, big attacks, strong moves with big attacks. You know, big damage.
use its item to get like online, and so you could use Choice Scarf Magic Room Tapu Lele and turn off the item before it could attack, and then you would no longer be Choice Scarf locked into Magic Room because you had just disabled all the items. One thing that I think is really cool about Tapu Lele is that normally terrain setters tend to enable other Pokemon offensively. An example of this is how Miraidon powers up all of the other future Paradox Pokemon. Tapu Lele does power up other Pokemon, but in addition to powering up some offensive Pokemon, it could also power up some supporting Pokemon as well. The most clear case of this was Pokemon that had the ability Unburden. Although these Pokemon could technically be used with any terrain setter, they were really mostly used with Tapu Lele. Basically, Unburden will double a Pokemon's speed stat if its held item is consumed, and as we talked about earlier, being able to double one of your stats is a really big deal. The item that these Pokemon would use is the Psychic Seed item, which will give a Pokemon a special defense boost if the Psychic terrain is up, and then disappear. Effectively, using a Psychic Seed on a Pokemon with Unburden in Psychic terrain would not only double its speed stat, it would also make it 50% tankier. That's the reason we saw Pokemon like Drifblim and Excelgor actually get used a fair bit and actually both win international level events because they were really fast, especially tanky with the seed, and they had really disruptive move pools. Drifblim could use Will-O-Wisp to burn a target, as well as Tailwind to double its whole team's speed stat, which is especially threatening with like Choice Specs or Psyche MZ Tapu Lele. Basically,
yeah, it's kind of crazy coming back to all these new fairy Pokemon after being like a 3rd generation Pokemon fan, 2nd or 3rd generation Pokemon fan.
having both the speed and the power. And Excelgor could use moves like Acid Spray to basically be a better fake tiers that, cut the target special defense in half. It could use Final Gambit.
They just like decided to make this overpowered class, like overpowered type. Yeah, it has weaknesses, but from what I can tell, that can make up for it. I just don't want to make it all. I don't want to think like a bot anymore and do all 5 to 6 man, have all full fairy team. I want to mix ground types. I kind of want to get to the game, Kirby. I'm gonna pause this halfway through. I can watch it the rest of it later, because all it's doing is making me itchy to play the game and catch more Pokemon. I need more Pokemon to work with in Violet, Scarlet, Violet. I didn't really have much fairy types to work with because I put them all in Sword and Shield. I'm gonna switch over to Scarlet, Violet. Okay, I'll, I'll let you know if I need it. Because I thought I had a few Sylvians. I think best to check Pokemon Home. What do I have to work with? I'm just laughing how much people are going to be rushing to GameStop. They'll be all rushing to GameStop all at once, and then oh my god, this could be sounds like mayhem tomorrow for pink Pokemon. Just gonna be a big wave of Pokemon fans all at once. Right after the announcement or whatever, the presents, Pokemon presents. How do I have no Pokemon? Oh. Arceus? What do I have in Arceus? Surely I have something cool, right? Umbreon. Is that... No, that's fake. Get rid of that shit. I don't want it to get me in trouble. What do I do with the fake Pokemon? There we go. Release. Leaf Green is digital only. Oh, Leaf Green is digital only. I see. I don't have too much fairy Pokemon in here. Bug. Fakes don't get you in trouble. Oh. I still want to get rid of it. If I can't use it in PvP. Should I just use that one site? Lane's Discord. Nah, I don't see no fairies in here. Not really. It's just wasting a bunch of time. Shield? Maybe I can find some in Shield. Looks like I cleaned it out. Alcremie. Okay. Yeah, I don't have much in Shield. I kind of gave up on Shield halfway through. Silly as that sounds. It wasn't the same nostalgia trip. Well, you know, it wasn't the same experience as Sword. It's fucking stupid we can't use DA Pokemon. Switch it over. More like it just goes. I don't get what the logic is. The only thing I can think different that's from the other rest of these Pokemon is they have Mega Stones, and Mega Stones are useless in the other games. So I don't really get the big. Just keep it in the game. It's an item. I don't get it. They could do better. ZA for sure. I might have to pick some out of Sword. Because who plays Sword anymore? Azumarill? Is Azumarill one of the good ones? Rapidash? Nope. Gardevoir. Lycanroc? Is that rock? That's rock type. Okay, not ground type. Sand Slash. Water. Fairy Water. Well, I might as well use it anyways, because I don't really see it using it anywhere else. Ground type? No. Is this like a defensive Pokemon? Would this be a good defensive one? Yeah, it has high defense. Well, I'm not sure what else to bring in. Can't bring in Rapidash. I wish I could. It's Psychic? It's Psychic Fairy? I had no idea. I would have never guessed. I would have had no idea it could mind control me. I'd just be like, oh, cute little pony. Grimmsnarl. Here we go. Is it shiny? Nah, don't have to be. What's that? Dust skull. Oh, cool. Whimsicott. What else was I missing? Sylvian? We got Sylvian. You have Sylvian for me, is what I mean. Grimmsnarl, Whimsicott. Those are what? Yeah, I've pretty much got the main three. The three that we started off with. I've kind of got this massive headache. I don't know why it won't go away. It's just getting worse since supper time. I might be awake too long. Because I was awake since like 4 o'clock, 4:30. It's like 8 a.m., 8 p.m., I mean. Water, ice. Might even be a ponytail, I think, for all I know. No. I think the best way to heal up is actually sleep. Me, I was kind of just killing time, letting my CCAP stuff clean out, dry out. It should be good to sleep now. I think I was awake too long. Because if I stay up like 6 more hours, 8 more hours, that's like a full day, 24 hours. Yeah, being awake a little too long, I think. That's probably the problem. I'm gonna wrap it up now, just for the sake of my health. Like, it's somewhat of an emergency. I didn't realize how bad my health was. How badly I needed sleep, I mean. I'll be back up later. I'll see you later, Kirby. Most likely tomorrow. GG's. Thanks for helping me do some research. Oh yeah, I'll feel better. I just need sleep.